And here I find myself verklempt. I was an awkward kid. In fact, I was so awkward as a kid that my teacher sent me to a summer camp for awkward kids for 4 weeks every single summer. When people look at me now, they see a wife, a mom, a PhD. That's the me people see. What they don't see is the one who was so bullied in school that she left for college by 16, flunked out of that college by 18, and spent 21 years of her life living overseas outside of her home culture, trying to find a space where she fit in, and never fitting in anywhere. Every cafeteria table I avoided, every whispered joke I pretended not to hear, they all became the research question I didn't even know I was asking. See, I had been studying belonging the hard way, but what I was really trying to find was, why do some people feel at home anywhere while others never do? So I decided to study human behavior and try to make sense of what I'd experienced. At first, I couldn't even read studies of ostracism without being overwhelmed. It would take me 4 hours to read a 25-page article and 2 days to recover. It turns out I wasn't alone in feeling alone. Across every demographic, loneliness has doubled in the past 2 decades. Remote work, social media, even the way we design our offices, so much of modern life leaves us surrounded by people and starved for connection. The hunger for belonging is everywhere. Researchers and marketers have picked up on this. Every job posting, every gym membership, clubs, churches, even social media influencers promise us that if we just join their tribe, we'll find a space to belong. And they're onto something. The impact of belonging is huge for individuals, for organizations, for society at large. The truth is, we treat belonging like it's optional, like it's a nice to have. But it's actually universal. It's foundational to being human. When that foundation is there, everything built on top of it holds. And when it isn't, we see cracks everywhere. Depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, teen pregnancy, imposter syndrome. All of these decreases, belonging increases. So what's going on there? Why does belonging have this kind of power over us? Researchers at UCLA wanted to see what rejection does to the brain. They put subjects in an MRI machine, and they asked them to play a simple computer game of catch. At first, everything was fine. Toss, catch, toss, catch. But then, partway through the game, the other players, who were actually the computer in disguise, the other players just left them out, stopped throwing them the ball. Now, who cares if someone you can't see, you don't know, you'll never meet, leaves you out of a simple, primitive computer game of catch, right? But here's what the scans showed. That same part of the brain that lights up with physical pain lit up with social pain when the person was excluded. In other words, rejection literally hurts. See, the brain doesn't know the difference between a broken bone and a broken heart. Seeing that study stopped me in my tracks because I had felt that pain. It's 2017. I've just lost my role in my company. They're celebrating my replacement. I am no longer a part of the team. So I do what all powerful professional women do in that instance. I run to the little girl's room and lock myself in a stall to cry. I know I'm in pain, but I can't tell where in my body the pain is coming from. And I'm trying to figure out if I'm having a heart attack or not. I'm trying to figure out what to tell paramedics when I realize I have no idea how to call paramedics. Did I mention that this was on the outskirts of Lima, Peru? There, in that dirty little bathroom stall in Lima, my brain scans would have shown pain. And that idea stayed with me. So I set out to learn how to spare others of this pain. I wanted to understand what belonging looks like when it's present. What are the building blocks of it? And how can leaders create it on purpose? I found belonging depended on three things: being known, feeling safe, and being valued. See, you don't have to be the leader to impact the belonging of those around you. You just have to look up and see the person in front of you. Give them the space to be known, the freedom to feel safe, and the respect of being valued. Now, when I see someone on the edge of the crowd looking lonely or scared or shy, I give them my attention. I introduce myself. I introduce them to others. And I include them in our conversations. Now, as the belonging lady, I can tell you that while I still don't fit in anywhere, I belong everywhere I go. How do I do this? I found the secret to increasing my own belonging in the spaces in which I find myself is to not think about myself. I think about those around me. I focus my efforts not on trying to fit in myself, but on helping those around me to feel belonging. How can we increase the belonging of those around us? One group of researchers went out on a college campus in pairs. One held a clipboard with a one-question survey. Within the last minute, how connected do you feel to others? What people didn't know is just before being asked that question, they'd passed another researcher on the sidewalk. And that person did one of three things. They either made eye contact and smiled, they made eye contact but stayed neutral, or they looked right past them, just over their shoulder, like they didn't even exist. You know that feeling, right? You're talking to someone at a party, and they're using you as a placeholder while they scan the room behind you, looking for somebody better to talk to. The results were striking. The people who felt the most belonging, clearly, were the people who were smiled at. But the people who felt the least were not the ones who were seen but not acknowledged. They were the over-the-shoulder folks, the ones who had been looked through. That single moment of being unseen was enough to make them feel like they didn't belong at all. Now, whether I'm walking my dog, rushing through an airport, or attending a conference, I make it a point to acknowledge everyone I can. The barista, the person standing alone, the quiet one on the edge of the crowd. Sure, I do it to be nice. I do it because I'm the belonging lady. But I also do it because I know the positive effects on people and society when belonging is increased. But I also benefit. As I make space for someone else to belong, I find my own belonging as well. So you don't have to lead a team or start a movement to change the belonging around you. You just have to look up and see the person in front of you. Because belonging doesn't begin because we seek it for ourselves. It begins when we help others belong. Thank you.